Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Donnie B all day. Today is going to be a day for me. I have steaming or just steamed about 1.5 pounds, maybe a little bit more of crab legs. And I picked up these two beauties right here. Earlier in the week, I went and got 4 lobsters and did them all up. And now I'm doing 2 cut with crab for an amazing lobster salad. I just love my lobster rolls. So, but cut with crab is really good, and it's a good way to take a crab where the meat there is on sale, and I think I just got all that for like 10 to 13 bucks, somewhere in there. And then the lobsters are on sale for 9.99 a pound. So you get all that crab meat, which is almost maybe this as much as a lobster and a half, depending on the size, for less of a price when you're talking total. So it actually helps cut in, and the flavor just really adds. A lot of people don't know that when you cut open a lobster and break it open, they don't know how much meat is in there. And everybody uses the claws and the tail, and the rest is pretty much garbage to them. So I'm going to show you a few techniques and a few places where you can get all the meat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the tails and take off the legs, the two main legs. I'm going to pull this off and this off. I'll leave these because most people just throw these away. And I'm going to show you how much meat comes out of a lobster without even touching the part that people usually eat. And when you get lobster rolls, generally you get a lobster roll, it's the meat from here, this knuckle right here, oh, right here. This arm, I'll even show you. Both of these arms right here, they take the meat out of these, and that's where you get your lobster rolls from. And the reason they don't use tails is because they sell the tails for more money. So it's cheaper for them to just do lobster rolls out of certain parts. So I'm going to take off the tail, and I'm going to take off the arms. And what I'm left with is this right here, just this little body. What I want to do is I'm going to open it up and clean it out first, because you want to get rid of all the jellies and stuff. You don't use that for lobster roll. Some people actually eat it. I don't. I think that's kind of gross. But I'm going to show you how much meat can come out of this guy right here. So I'm just going to, and I'll actually show you. I don't know how I, oh man, I am terrible at this. So I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing. So literally I'm just going to put a thumb in the back and a thumb here, and boop, open it up. So once this is opened, you're going to find that some don't have the jelly in it, some will have eggs, all that. I'm just going to rinse it under water and get rid of all the stuff that I don't need, and start from there. So there's a big difference between cartilage and meat, so knowing the difference between the two is going to help you, and I'm going to try and show you the best I can the difference between all that jazz. So I'll finish cleaning out the top. This guy had a bunch of jelly in him. Now there's not, once you get to this point, there's not a whole lot in there, but there is some stuff. Like right away, there's this sack right here. Let me get all that jelly off. And inside this sack, there's some gooey parts, and then there's some meaty parts. You see this? This white part right here, that is 100% pure lobster meat, and that's good lobster meat. So I'm going to throw that in a little bowl, and there's one on each side. I'm going to peel that off, and boom, right there, this is normally thrown away. Right? Now this is just membrane. You don't need that. Don't keep that. So I'm going to throw that away. Now in here, it's possible to get meat out of certain areas. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to rip all this right out of there. And you can see that orange, that red color. You don't need any of that. So I'm going to rinse all this off and get rid of all the stuff. Now, these guys right here, this is a muscle that works this. So while there's nothing really in here, you do have some meat in here, and I'll show you. But first, let me get to this part right here. Let me get to this part right here. So, right away, I have some really good lobster meat, and you're thinking, oh, that's just a little bit. But when you're talking about making a lobster salad that is going to either feed you for a few days or feed multiple people, the more meat you pull out, obviously the better, you know what I mean? And you're paying for this lobster, why not at least get all the lobster meat? So that's it out of there. So now I'm going to break off this thing. Some people eat the eyes. I do not. I am not in a third world area, so I do not have to rely on that to survive. But again, attached to this piece of cartilage here, you just scrape it down, you have meat. Right here, you have meat. All this is meat. So before even getting started, I already have a little bowl with meat in it. And there's more. But wait, there's more. So what I want to do is I want to just rip off the little antenna, because the muscle in here that uses that moves it around is meat. So here we go. I'm just going to open it up, and you can see that there is good lobster meat. So I'm going to pull that out of both sides and then continue. Hold on. All right, so I got all that. So now I'm in the main part of the body. Up here, there isn't as much as down here, but these guys right here, these little legs, these feelers right up front, they've got some meat in them. So I'm going to rip those off first, and then we're going to go over it. Now you'll see this clear, like this stuff right here, that's not meat. Do not eat that. That is like tendons and all that. But anything that's connected to anything hard, a piece of cartilage, is generally meat. And what you do is just put your fingers on the side of it and scrape it off. And not only is it meat, but it's good meat. Like if you were just to eat that regular, you'll notice that it has a really good sweet flavor. So now in here, there's meat all the way through this. You see that? I just broke off the end, and you see that? That's a piece of meat that runs all the way through these feelers. You see, if I can, sometimes you can pull them all out in one spot, sometimes you can't. When you get to a point where you can't, squeeze. Look at that, see that? And the meat just comes right out. All you got to do is pinch the shell, and you get meat. And I'll show you. Pinch the shell, and out comes the meat. So all of that meat right there is normally in the trash. People are just either too lazy. Look at that, it just came right out when I cracked it open. And now I'm going to squeeze the meat. So people, especially people who eat lobster, generally, look at that, generally have money. So they find themselves too good to be doing this kind of thing. I personally want to get as much out of it as I can, especially when you're talking about for a lobster roll, lobster salad, things like that. If you're just going to be sitting down eating some lobster, then that's fine. You're dipping it in butter, doing your thing. That's fine. Maybe you don't go the extra mile. But when you're talking about a lobster salad or things like that for lobster rolls, you want to get all of it out there. I'm going to do this one next. All right, so now we're in the body. So there's a couple ways you can do it. You can begin by splitting it in half, or you can take each leg off at the knuckle. I think what I'll do is both, but first I'm going to break off the top, because in this section, there's pretty much nothing. You can probably get maybe right here, you can get a little bit of meat out of these, because they have a name, but it's really not anything in there that's going to give you anything. So breaking off the top, getting rid of that, you'll be far better off. So now I'm going to just separate in this area here. A lot of people ignore this. There is a ton a ton of really, really good lobster meat in here. One piece just fell out. It's really good lobster meat. And again, it's often ignored lobster meat. So let's see. What I'm going to do first, you have all these like little movers, right? These little fins. None of that is edible. And I'm pretty sure you could eat it and live, but it's gross. So don't eat that. If it's slimy, it's not meat, right? Meat should be nice and firm. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to break off a leg at the knuckle, and we're going to see that right away. It's got meat galore inside these knuckles. So what I want to do is just break away piece by piece all of the shell and all of the cartilage until I can open up, because in between each of these fins, each of these pieces of cartilage is meat, in between every single one of them. So you literally are getting a bunch of lobster meat coming out of there. And then inside of here, obviously this is all meat. This is all muscle. So this right here, look at that, just out of the top of that leg. Look at that chunk of meat right there. That is so worth getting. I break apart the shell, and part of it is already attached, so I just take that off. Now, you can take apart each piece, and then a lot of people try to cut them, but what I try to do is just squeeze and roll it all the way up, because you get every bit of that leg out. That's good meat. That's good meat. So I'm just going to continue to do that. I'm going to get in between all of those little areas where it's going to be, and I'm going to continue to do this. I'm going to continue to pinch, and get all of that beautiful leg meat, which is really good meat. And I'll show you in here. So you have this membrane right here. This is not meat, this is membrane. You can just rip that right off. Get rid of it. I'm going to pull off these legs because I just showed you how to get the meat out of a leg by squeezing. So I'm going to pull these off, put those to the side, and I just want to show you this. So in between, I was saying in between the cartilage, it's all, you can literally feel it with your hand and you can break them apart. There's all kinds of pieces in there, and in between each piece is meat. It's muscle because it has to move the lobster. So this thing right here is literally full of meat. I have a little tiny piece right here, and what I want to do is just get in between some of these pieces, and right away the meat is just going to want to fall out. And it's super good meat. It's really tender, really good lobster meat inside these areas. So you just want to break it all open, and if you can't pull it apart, just grab it and pinch it and it will crack. Once it's cracked, then it just pulls right apart, and it helps you to get inside to clear all that meat out of there. And you're going to get a bunch of meat out of this area of the lobster that you had no idea was even there. Don't be afraid to just grab it with your finger and scrape it out. That's all lobster meat. So I'm going to continue that and I'll show you more. All right, so here's something crazy. That right there, all that meat, I just poured some out. All that meat is enough to make a full lobster roll, and it's the meat that would normally be thrown away. Oh, look at that. I even missed a shell that I had lost. But all of it is meat that would normally just go in the trash that people get rid of, like I almost just did. And here it is, completely ready to go into the lobster roll. I'm just getting the last pieces that I dropped. And it is perfect lobster meat. And even got a little bit more out of there. All right, so I have enough lobster in this to make one complete lobster roll, and I think that's awesome. That's awesome, and that's not including yet still the tail and the legs. So let's get into those pieces. Now you want to clean out the tail because some of them will have jelly, some of them will have the little red stuff, the eggs and all that. So you want to clean them out. What I do is I rinse off first just the edge where it's going to be opening. Dig your finger in there. If you got some jelly in there, just pull it out. So now here's the way to crack it. You want to straighten out your tail, make a fist around it, and then squeeze. And then break all of these little areas in here where all these little fins are. You just want to get them all cracked. So now it's all smushy, right? Well, mushy. I could mush it. Now I'm going to take just the tail part, holding the rest, and I'm going to break it softly so I don't snap off the end of the tail. That's now hollow. And now I have this. So what I'm going to do now is take my thumbs against the sides. You'll see how it's got sides on all around the meat. And I'm just going to crack it sideways so it opens up. And that way I can take my thumb and use in the rear and push the meat straight through to pull it out. And that's it. This guy's curly. So there it is. That's all empty. And now I have a beautiful lobster tail. And again, I just want to rinse it. So what I'm going to do to make sure that you get a really clean lobster tail, because it has the digestive tract in there. And if it's a female, you'll see eggs or different things. So what I want to do is there's this flap right here. And you take this flap and you just pull it all the way through, and you'll see that piece just snapped, and that was part of the digestive tract. It runs dead center in this groove, and you're just going to take it out. And what you're left with is this really nice piece of lobster right there. I'm going to put that to the side. And so now you can see I have the egg right here, all that pouch, and I'm just going to clean it out. Once clean, I have a beautiful lobster tail. So what I want to do is take the lobster tail where you can see where it separates, and that's what I want to do. I'm just going to, you could use a knife, or I just use my thumb and I break it open all the way down to the end, and then I split it. And from there, you'll find the end of the digestive tract. It's pretty easy to spot. It's the only thing that doesn't look exactly like everything else. It's just that part of that clear tube, and it will be just like that. That's it. The rest is all 100% lobster tail meat. Put that aside. Now I'm going to grab the legs. I'll take off my rubber band, and so now I have a couple different areas here. You can use crackers, or you can just use your hands. If you wiggle it, sometimes that'll happen, and all the meat just came out of there. And what I'll do is I'll just pinch it and break it and stick it in my mix. Now from here you can either try and break off these pieces, which is very easy to do. If you have a soft shelled lobster, you can just use your fingers to break away the shell, and it will reveal that part of the knuckle. Knuckle meat is so good. All these legs have really, really good meat in it. But what you want to do is there's a piece of cartilage right here that helps it bend. You get all the way down to there, and then you can just really simply open it up. But just doing that, you get to pieces of the meat. Because I'm making a lobster roll, it doesn't matter. I don't need to get it out in full pieces, so I can break it as I go because I'm adding it right to my mix. Now, if I want to break it off, I would just grab it firm. A lot of people wear gloves because these things are sharp and they can get you. When you pull that piece off, you're going to see these two little tabs here. It's almost like it was built for this. All you're going to do is between a finger and a thumb, and just pinch. You can hear that crack. Just pinch. Go slow because you don't want to cut yourself on the shell. But you can use a pair of kitchen shears, like scissors for food. Use some kitchen shears if you're worried about that, or if you're not used to it, and if you don't really want to get cut up. And for that, I would actually recommend that. But then you can, once you broke it, you can put your thumbs on those two little tabs and just separate them, and they'll break right open. And that makes life a whole lot easier. So now I can shove it all the way through if I want, or I can continue to break and pull all the meat out of that section. I keep losing you guys in the camera. And make sure to get all the shells. I'll show you the shears. When I do it, I use these little guys right here, and you can literally take a snip and then crack it open all the way, or you can do 2 snips. I'll show you. And that way I just took out a section of shell, and now to get the meat out, all I'm going to do is again pull gently without going crazy so you don't destroy yourself. And I'm going to get out all of that meat. Again, this is for lobster salad, so I'm not worried about breaking it. But here we go. So I'm just going to rip it and stick it in my bowl. Otherwise, normally I would try to get this out in one piece and just dip it in butter and eat it. But that's not happening for what I'm making. Oh, so look at that. So all of that comes out nice and easy. There's no more meat in there. That's it. So here, there's water on the inside of these. So when you open the claw, water will come out. Wiggle that claw a little bit. When you want to get that cartilage snapped out, so you want to bring it up, but then you want to bring it back so you can get all the cartilage out like that. And then look at that piece of claw. If that doesn't happen, you can try to bang on it, it'll come out, or you can use a piece of the lobster, like a piece of leg or something, to try and scrape it out of there. But I could get it all in one piece, but what I'm going to do now is just break it up and stick it in my mix. So now this claw, a lot of times you can just grab it and break it that way. Some softies are harder than others. You can take a fist and pound it like that until it breaks, or you can just take your scissors, your shears, and cut straight through all the way to the opening that you just pulled that piece of claw out, turn it around, and do the other way, and it works really, really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take out a chunk of that shell. Looks like that. Those are the sharp part. And now I have this. I'm just going to take it and boom. So if you have any of that white, like there's going to be some white stuff, that's just from steaming. You just rub that off. And now you break apart your lobster. If you're just eating lobster, you don't need to break it apart. But if you're making like a lobster salad for a lobster roll, you can either take your shears and cut it, or just break it apart, and you'll notice that this meat in here is more fibrous, and it'll spread really nice. It'll break nice and easy. It's just so good, so good. The claws are just decadent, man. They're awesome. Let's see, I got one more claw to do, and I have to rip up the tail. And what I'm going to show you, literally same thing. You can just break it with your hands. Try to break the tail up into smaller pieces because it's a nice, firm, wonderful meat. So it can be like, I don't want to use the word chewier, but it could be used chewier. So when you're talking about putting in a lobster roll, rather than just eating it like a piece of steak, you want to have nice, fine pieces in your lobster roll. So I like to just break it up, and that's how you do that. So let me get this finished and the other claw. All right, so I just wanted to show you. I took the shears and I cut along both sides. If you're looking to do this a lot faster, that opens up, and right there you have all of your meat to get out. Very, very nice and simple. Using the shears definitely speeds things up, and it reduces your chance of getting cut up. I'm just so used to it that I totally forget to grab them. But now that I remembered to do it to show you guys, I mean, I forget how really, really easy it makes this whole thing. All right, so that is one lobster. Don't believe me? There's the other one. Think it's mixed with the crab? There's all the crab. That right there is solid packed of one lobster. That's how much meat you can get out of it if you do. I'm going to break down the other one. The crab breaks down pretty much the same way as the lobster. And I'll just show you one thing on the crab. First of all, you'd get the meat out of the knuckle, and you can break that off. All is good. You take that piece off, and sometimes just like that, the meat of the crab will just come straight out. And I was hoping it didn't because I wanted to show you something. So what I'm going to have to do is break open another one real quick. All right, let's see. Oh, and again, it came right out. So I'm getting unlucky lucky. It's lucky when it comes right out. But because I wanted to show you a trick, it's a little unlucky. So I think I'm going to have to try again. Oh, boo-hoo. I have to keep opening crab. All right, so let's try this guy. Let's try this guy. Man, there's so much meat in these. That's a nice solid break. Let's see. Get out. It's generally what happens is you break it apart and the cartilage pulls it with it. But with the crab, what you can do is just snap it this way and then open it that way. And let's see, my meat was already bunched at the end because it was pulled. I am having some awful luck, but generally when that happens, what you do is you just snap it that way and the meat will be sitting right in the center. But because I already pulled the cartilage, and when you pull it, it pulls out just like that. So you're just yanking the meat out, and look at all that beautiful crab leg just comes straight out. So I'm going to do the other lobster and then the crab, and I'll show you what we got. Woo! Look at all that meat, boys and girls. Man, that is crazy. Looks like I am all done. Oh, wait a second. That's just one lobster and some crab legs. Got some more to go. Ooh-wee, holy Moses. Let's put it in something else. All right, that, my friends, is a big thing of lobster right there. So this is going to make a ton of rolls. This is going to be great. Now, the final thing is we're just going to chop up some celery, a little bit of mayo, I'll explain why, and then we're done. All right, so I did literally just one stick of celery, cubed it up. You don't want to add too much because celery is supposed to add a little something to the lobster. The lobster is not supposed to add something to the celery. Same goes with the mayo. When you are making a lobster salad, the mayo is just basically to hold it together. It's kind of like a glue. You don't want everything to taste like mayo, right? It's like people put ranch on pizza and stuff, and then the pizza just tastes like ranch. It doesn't taste like pizza. You don't want to over-empower the flavor that you're trying to get when you make a lobster roll. It's because you want lobster, right? So don't go crazy on the additives. A lot of people will then say, okay, now you want to add this spice and or this seasoning or some lemon. No. A little bit of mayo, a whole lot of lobster, a little bit of celery. And what I want to do is I'm just going to shake it up instead of stir it. And then I'll mix it together once it's all shaken up. But I just want to get that mayo just to hold the lobster together. That's it. That's literally all it's doing. And it's just going to be my glue. If you can see mayo all over the place, then you have too much, right? And the sad part is you can't take away the mayo after you've already put it in. So then you're screwed. So try not to go too heavy. And then too much mayo is just going to make it wet anyway. And you don't want it all wet, right? You want it to look... Should probably use like a spoon to show you that or a fork, because I can't pick it up. All right, so you see that? That's not overly mayoed. That's just enough to pretty much hold it together. That's all you need as in the mayo department. And now is the most important part. I'm going to show you how to perfectly put it together. Now you want cold meat, warm bread, and I'll show you how to do that. All right, so I'm not sure what part of the world you live in, but in New England we have hot dog buns that look like this. They're called New England style hot dog buns, where the sides are cut clean like that. this is what you do. You put butter. This is for hot dogs or what I'm doing right now. Anytime you need to put something on a roll, you want these. If your area, because I know down south, they don't sell these pretty much everywhere. If your area doesn't have New England hot dog rolls, I implore you to buy some online. But literally, you just want to heat up a frying pan, butter both sides, and then you're going to brown it like you would a grilled cheese. And I'll show you what it looks like at the end. This, my friends, is what a hot dog roll should look like. It's nice and still, you know, you can see the steam coming from the inside when you open it up. That's perfection. All right, why don't you take your chilled lobster meat. Oh, you stick it on your warm buns. Best part. I'll tell you, cutting it with the crab just gives it so much more. A lot of people put cheese or lettuce or something else on. You don't need any of that crap. You don't. All you need is really good lobster. Cut it with some really good crab. Put it on a really good bun. Have a really good meal. All right, so that's it for that one, boys and girls. This stuff just came out right. Hi, I'm Donnie B all day. Until next video.